So what's the secret behind the multiple streams of revenue among millionaires? Let's talk about it on today's show. Let's drop the needle.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Landlord Coach Daily Show. My name is Mark Dolfini, Landlord Coach and host of the Landlord Coach Daily Show. It's good to see you. It's a frosty Friday out there. Man, it is chilly out. It's 37 degrees, but man, it feels a lot colder. And we're supposed to get some weather, some snow over the weekend. Whatever. At this point, I actually don't mind the snow anymore because I don't have to work outside it anymore. But if you guys are expecting some weather, let me know where you are and where you're from. I'd love to hear from you guys. I always like to hear from you guys. We're not quite intergalactic yet. In fact, I don't even think we're international. We are interstate, though. And I'm proud of that. Anyway, so what are we talking about today? We are talking about the secrets among multiple streams of revenue among millionaires. So I hear, I don't know if that is common knowledge. I guess maybe I was making an assumption among some people that this seems to be common knowledge among the people in my circle that it's really easy to start multiple businesses with the idea of, well, let me diversify so I can get other revenue streams that come in. And I don't know where it came from. I'm thinking it started with The Millionaire Next Door or The Millionaire Mind, if you remember those books back in the 90s, maybe 2000s. But really good books, really groundbreaking books. But I think it's actually where that started, was this concept that most millionaires do have more than one stream of revenue. And in fact, they have multiple streams of revenue. And that's what I want to talk about today. And among entrepreneurs, and I run with lots of different people who we smell the same way. You know, we smell each other out almost in terms of having these ideas of the moment. So if you are someone who generally is an entrepreneurial mindset, it's really, really difficult to not want to start something. Literally, you have a business idea every 25 seconds, right? So if that's you, put your comment. I won't put you on blast and ask you like what your business idea is for today. But it's true, right? It's really hard to put these things in perspective. It's like, okay, hey, I've got a great idea, and it's the best idea you're ever going to have. And it's like, well, what about the idea yesterday and the day before that or the week before that? Like, what about those ideas? So like, man, I'd love to do those ideas too. But, that's part of the creative brain. I mean, that's the creative brains that we were blessed with. And unfortunately, it's just really hard to put that down. So if that's you, I totally get it. If you're more of an implementation sort of person where you're like, you have to live with a person like this who's great at starting things and horrible at finishing them, I pity you because I totally understand what that's like. It's hard. You've got ideas. You want to put them out. Like I literally have an idea for about 4,200 different books that I want to write, and I've started on none of them. I mean, it's amazing that I've got the 3 done that I actually started on. Because it's really difficult. I mean, when you start out, it's exciting, it's new, right? And then it wanes off. And for the people who are serial entrepreneurs, they love to talk about Richard Branson, who's got like he owns like multiple, billion-dollar companies that like the Virgin Atlantic brand, and spaceships and flying saucers, and I think he owns the color yellow. Like it's just all sorts of stuff, but. But it's, those multiple streams of revenue, I think it becomes a trap. It becomes a snare. So I want to talk about that first, and just in terms of how I understand it to be. Now, again, I'm not a zillionaire by any stretch, but I would consider myself successful. And I feel like I've cracked the code just from watching other people make this mistake. And I have recently been involved in another startup, but I'm doing it in a fundamentally different way. And I think it's really interesting to see, how quickly this thing is actually progressing because of the things that I'm not doing. And I'll share those with you. So I think one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs who do this the right way, the first things that they recognize is that they recognize the need for systems. And they put systems in place as quickly as they possibly can. And it's only the systems that are necessary to deliver whatever the product or the service is. And again, I say only necessary. They come up with all these different ideas in terms of serving the customer and 4,200 different ways of how they can do that. But at the end of the day, it's about what is it you're trying to accomplish? What's the commander's intent from the military perspective? If you're on a strategic mission, what exactly is it you're trying to do? Like what's the hill you're trying to capture? Who's the enemy you have to take? Right? Like what is the thing that you need to do? Like in World War II, it was pretty simple. It was the unconditional surrender of the Axis. That was it. Nothing else would suffice. So that was pretty straightforward and it was pretty clear cut. That's why, again, I'm very vision focused because I want that to be as clear as absolutely possible. Now, vision for me is what my life looks like, but the goal is what delivers that vision. So if my vision is to, lay on the beach being fed grapes and it's going to cost me X amount of dollars per month to do that, then my goal should be to have a business that creates enough revenue and allows me in the free time to do that, right? So you're basically reverse engineering it from your vision. So again, you're only having the necessary things in place to do that, to do whatever it is in the system. So when I'm talking about like the only things that are necessary, all right, so how could I automate? Again, we're talking systems now. So how could you automate only the necessary things as much as possible, right? And what you can't automate, you would need to delegate. So that's when you bring in your help. That's when you bring in your professionals. That's when you start hiring people, or you have a virtual assistant that does it, or do you have vendors, a good vendor relationship where you could pay a vendor and still make money at doing that, right? And then going back to the final thing is eliminate the absolutely unnecessary stuff. I use this example all the time in my own business that, if we can't do something consistently and do it all the time, and if it's not really within 1 or 2 degrees of separation of our actual goal, of making our goal, should we be doing it at all? Like, for example, should we be sending out, I'll just use a quick example, like birthday cards. If you can't do the basics, like if you're making your people live without heat in your houses, how is that going to be taken when they're getting a birthday card? Oh, great. I could set this birthday card on fire and stay warm for 30 seconds because you haven't provided me heat in my house because the furnace hasn't worked in 3 weeks, right? Not a good fit. Okay, so you have to think about that in terms of that. So again, in terms of systems is number one. You got the things to identify the only necessary things, right? You want to automate. You want to delegate, and then go back around and make sure that all the things that are being done, if it's not absolutely necessary, that you go back through that elimination process. The second thing that I noticed, though, and this is something that my dad kind of taught me in a roundabout way, and this is my dad back here. You can see him here in the photo. But he is not the plant, right there. My dad, who I wrote about in the book, The Time Wealthy Investor 2.0, he had like an 8th grade education. I mean, he's probably one of the smartest men that I knew, but he just wasn't overly educated. But he literally could put his mind and do really whatever he wanted. He just taught himself how to do stuff, which is just overly impressive. And back in that time, when he was growing up through he was born in the 30s, growing up through the 40s and 50s, that's what you had to do. I mean, he was kind of a farm boy kind of guy that just had to learn how to do stuff. So in his particular case, he built a trucking company out of pretty much nothing. And he worked hard. But the thing was, he focused on that thing. And he focused on that thing and that thing only. Yeah, surely he was certainly distracted, probably by other businesses, but he focused on that and won that thing only. Now, in his particular case, he did create a job for himself, but he created a job of CEO. And that's a job that I think that he probably enjoyed. I don't think that he would have removed himself from that position, which I'm going to get to here in just a second. But But the interesting thing about a true entrepreneur is that they don't actually create a job for themselves. And that's something that I remember hearing my dad think about, like, or talk about when I was younger, that he regretted that he ended up being tied to this one particular business. And then we're thinking, like, how in the world would you create a business and not be tied to it? Of course you're going to have input. Of course you're going to have some, you need to have some engagement to the business. I don't know that true passive income is really that easy to come by. You still have to be engaged in the companies in some way, at least to make sure that the metrics are being hit, because you need to hold your managers accountable. You need to hold as an owner of the company, you need to hold those people accountable and make sure that stuff is being met. But that's what I thought was pretty interesting, is that the focus of getting a company up and running was, getting it up and running, getting it, that one thing only. And again, I talked about it, I think, in the One Thing, the book called The One Thing, is about that incredible increasing power focus. I think it was also in the Pumpkin Plan about how to grow these massive pumpkins. And, what they do is they select the pumpkin that's most likely to grow the biggest, and they cut all the other pumpkins off that vine and just do nothing but pour nutrients into the soil and literally love on this gigantic pumpkin, so you get like an 800-pound pumpkin, right? Now, there's lots of other things that go into it, but it's really, really interesting because that focus allows that all those nutrients to go to that pumpkin and that pumpkin only, not like 2, 3, or 7 different pumpkins like us entrepreneurs like to do and get into 12 different things all at one time. So that incredible power of focus is the other thing. So obviously it's systems number 1, focus is number 2, and then number 3, I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but number 3, they get out of the way. They don't actually create a business that involves them as the gatekeeper for any information. They don't put themselves as a cog inside the machine in any way. And this is the difference that I am seeing where I'm at now with this other startup, is that I'm not seeing, like with Landlord Coach, I like being the cog in the machine. For me, I love doing Landlord Coach. And it's just something that I just truly enjoy. But, if I don't do anything on this for a while, I'm because I am the product. I mean, which is true for most, like this would be a terrible example of a scalable business. I didn't design this to be scalable, though. I do it because I love writing, I love teaching, I love coaching. At some point, I might not love it and I might not do this anymore. But this other business, I did not put myself in there necessarily where I can't be replaced at some point, where I am to a certain degree, but a much smaller degree than anything else that I put myself in, that I put myself in before. So it's really interesting because now I've never been involved in a business before with a team, and we're all rowing in the same direction, and we're all getting there so much faster than I've ever experienced before. So it's really interesting because we've got a system in place already. We're really hyper focused on a very specific market and market niche, and we're all looking like, okay, how could we all get out of the way and let this thing run? So we're not the bottlenecks for any potential and future growth for this company. So it's really cool just to see that. Now, again, that's only the things that I have seen among really super successful people that are making 6 figures a month net in their businesses and have done really well for themselves. I don't know a lot of them. I'm going to tell you, it's not like I know all these different people, but but many people who truly have the ability to take themselves or remove themselves out of the equation so no information has to flow through them. It's a pretty rare breed, but I will tell you, they have a pretty incredible life. So that's all I have for today. Let's go ahead and check and see if anybody has said hello. I don't know that if anybody can. Let's see here. Hey, you. There's my bride, Jennifer Dolfini. Let's see. Keith Anderson said he owns Red. I'm not sure what that's regarding. So anyway, all right. Well, that's all I have for today, everybody. Please be sure to place a value on your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. But most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have an awesome day and an awesome weekend, and hopefully you don't get snowed in. All right. Take good care. We'll see you next time. We'll see you.